If you're a socialist and you're watching this, I hope you're sitting down, because this is gonna sting. People like Senator Bernie Sanders and political candidate Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez really want Medicare for all. This is their term for free, socialized public health care. This is objective number one in their socialist utopia. A nation where all medicine and all healthcare services are virtually cost-free. But any sensible person knows healthcare can never be free. There's a really good reason why doctors and healthcare professionals earn such high salaries. Their jobs are extremely difficult, they're time-consuming, and they can also be potentially lethal if not performed with the utmost care and caution. Even if the recipient of their services isn't technically paying anything, someone, somewhere needs to foot the bill so a nation of over 300 million people can receive the treatment and medicine they need to lead healthy lives. But people like Senator Sanders, the independent socialist from Vermont, they have a plan. Everyone gets to visit a healthcare professional and receive medication that's covered, or mostly covered, by funding from the federal government. This is essentially the logic to Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All plan. And if you're a taxpayer and an American citizen and somebody with half a brain, you probably already know Medicare is an insurance program for seniors. Under Senator Sanders' plan, everyone gets access to this program, young and old alike, with no copays or deductibles during checkout time. Wow, okay, we're listening. Well, I gotta ask, if this is your plan, how much would this socialist wet dream cost the taxpayers? Well, according to an analysis released Monday by the Mercatus Center at George Mason University in Virginia, the Medicare for All program would cost taxpayers a grand total of, drum roll please, $32.6 trillion over the period of about a decade. Just so we're clear, that is trillion with a T, not billion with a B or million with an M. Hey, I told you, I hope you were sitting down when you received that news. I cannot be held responsible for anyone who suffered from a sudden fall after receiving the information. After all, I warned you. Again, assuming you have half a brain, I'm sure you don't need a long-winded explanation about why America can't afford to go $32.6 trillion deeper into debt. We're currently $21 trillion in debt, and the consequences of this little bind we're in are numerous. Lower national savings, lower national income, higher interest payments, all of which could lead to large tax hikes and spending cuts, which will decrease America's ability to respond to problems and emergencies. And let's not forget the obvious consequence of Medicaid for All. If you don't need health insurance, that means you don't need to buy health insurance. And if you don't need to buy health insurance, what happens to the 2.6 million Americans who currently work in the insurance industry here in the good old US of A? It puts them in kind of a tough spot, doesn't it? Imagine 2.6 million people suddenly out of work or looking for new jobs. Thanks, Bernie. I'm sure those millions of people can't wait to update their resumes and feverishly search for a new form of income while struggling to pay their bills. Okay, so then Bernie Sanders' program would put America trillions of dollars into debt and millions of people would be out of work. That doesn't sound like any utopia I've ever heard of, but okay, Bernie, if you say so. And I know what a lot of you are probably thinking right now. Does Bernie Sanders know how destructive his plan is? If he fights for the underdog, or claims to fight for the underdog, maybe he'll have a change of heart after hearing this news. Well, funny you should ask, even though technically you didn't. Bernie Sanders is well aware of this information, and he's already issued a response to it. Rather than dissecting the facts and explaining how the researchers at George Mason University may or may not have their facts wrong, they don't, Bernie is taking shots at how they get their funding, which is ironic if you consider that their whole study is based on how reckless the funding is for his program. You see, these researchers are actually getting their funding from Koch industry. You know those evil, twisted Koch brothers who give money to universities and fund liberty-minded politicians? Bernie said in a statement, "This grossly misleading and biased report is the Koch brothers' response to the growing support in our country for the Medicaid for All program." And that's the evil two-word phrase that, when uttered among people on the left, makes their skin crawl. Koch brothers. The left loves to hate the Koch brothers. We have Harry Reid to thank for that. They'd all like you to believe Charles and David Koch are two warlocks who live in a dungeon where they feed children to dragons and get their powers by drinking virgin blood every night before they soak in a hot tub of sulfuric acid to help preserve their lizard skin. Democrats love to draw a line between the Koch brothers and the Republicans, but they're not even technically Republicans, they're independent libertarians. And I may not agree with the Koch brothers on everything, everything, but they're far from evil. Democrats want you to think the Koch brothers are the biggest political donors in America. They're not even in the top 10. Democrats also want you to think every time the Republicans do something unpopular, the Koch brothers are behind it, but they're not. Democrats even blame the Koch brothers for America electing Donald Trump. Funny thing about that, the Kochs never gave any money to Donald Trump, and Trump has openly attacked the Koch brothers for their stance on free trade as recently as this morning. This all takes us back to the old left versus right illusion of American politics. There are actually more than two sides to American politics, despite what MSNBC and Fox News would have you believe, just like there's more than two wings to the Republican or Democrat Party. But to people on the left, that separation between ideologies on the right is almost impossible to see. And because of the popularity of candidates like Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Democrats keep moving farther and farther to the left, which is definitely not resonating with moderates and centrists, who are basically the people that decide who wins presidential elections. So while Bernie Sanders chooses to ignore math and attack the Koch brothers because of the boogeyman association that goes along with their name, facts are facts. Facts don't care where the funding comes from, and facts also don't care if you're popular with college kids. Sorry, Alexandria.